This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to the town hall meeting today. I know it's a little bit cold outside, so I appreciate you coming in this cold weather. At least it's cold for us Arizonans. What we're going to do first this morning is we're going to turn it over to the board president, Barbara Fugelberg, so she can go over hopefully the final version of the new rules and regs so we can get that approved at our next board meeting next week.
Thank you. So hopefully there might be a few surprises here, but nothing I think that will give any of you heartburn. So as you know, we approved a number of changes to the rules and regs at our November board meeting. We also said at that time, there's some other things we know that are still on the list that we need to address that haven't been addressed. So what we're trying to do is hopefully have this list complete for our meeting next week, but we need your input. And the intent is that our rules and regs should not change every 3 months, every 4 days, whenever, I change my hair color. We want this to be a document that hopefully can live for at least a couple of years. So with that, I'll just go through some of the changes that we are going to be addressing. So if we can go to the next slide, please. All of these will be in effect 30 days after the board approves it, which will make it effective January 15th, 2024. And one of the first ones that we've added has to do with special age waivers. So this was a new rule, but it's really to help look at those things that we currently do, but we have never put in stone. And this is a special age waiver. So it'll be a temporary waiver that can be granted to a resident, immediate family, or whatever. In the event of an occupant is not occupying the lot due to health or hardship, age restrictions, or whatever, it may be waived. And so that would be to assist the resident for alternative living situations, opening and closing the premises, preparing the lot for sale, or other circumstances as the general manager deems appropriate. Within the, I didn't add it on this PowerPoint, but the special age waiver must be approved by the manager prior to occupancy and include the specific reason and the time frame that it's going to occur and the names of the people that are going to be occupying the unit. So does anyone have any heartburn about that? I think every single one of you know that there's health issues that come up, and sometimes you need some respite care or your spouse needs some respite care. And so we just wanted to put that in writing. The next change we made is regarding extended absences. There is no significant change to this to what we approved last month. The only difference is that we called out the forms. So the resident shall complete the departure form when they're leaving for 45 days or longer. And then when they return, they must complete the arrival forms. We just needed to call that out so residents knew what to look for. The next one has to do with rental property. And this is so that we can maintain our 55 and older status. And of this, we'll say that, and this is currently things that are expected, but we felt we needed to actually call them out and put them in writing. So the first one is that any advertisement for a rental unit within Happy Trails must include statements that the property is within a 55 plus community. One occupant must be 55 age or older, and the second must be over 40. Maximum of 2 people per lot, and no children allowed. So that's to help maintain our 55 and older status. It is current practice that we expect it. We didn't have it in writing, and so we felt the need to do that. The next part of the rental thing is that, and this is current practice, so it's just calling it out in writing. We did make a change. Currently, you have to put in notice of occupancy. We're changing that to notice of pending arrival. Those of you who live up in Juniper Ridge during the summer, that's the same term y'all use up there. Nothing else has changed within that. You have to do it 10 days in advance and pay $25. Nothing has changed in that. It's just in writing. On the next page, it says, and we're going to be making a change to this. This really is current practice, but because of the dumpster stuff, which will be coming up in a second, if an owner resides outside the resort during the rental period, the owner retains the right to access their lot and to vote in association manners, but forfeits the right to use. We're going to change this to specific common areas and leave out the parentheses there. And so the specific common area that a owner who resides outside the resort would not be able to use is use of the community-wide dumpsters is forbidden. Okay. We hear a lot of heartburn. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and ask a question. Yes. I'll repeat it. No, we are allowed 20% of the occupants of the lots to be occupied someone less than 55. Currently, our practice is that 10% of those would actually be under 55, but the other 10% could be that we've got some occupants who are maybe like the third person on the lot who's mentally challenged and is living with his parents. But overall, the HOPA law says that at least 20%, a maximum of 20%, the owner must be 50, excuse me, one of them has to be 55. The other one, second one, in our rules say they have to be 40. Some other communities say 45. Just.
Let's say we have 20% rentals and all the rentals have a second person who's under 55. Does that mean a future owner will be denied?
No. So that doesn't affect. That one person has to be there as 55. Now, we don't currently have a waiver but we have practiced that if the person 55 passes away and the other person is under 55, we do make waivers for that person to stay grandfathered in, aged in, if you will. We don't have anything about, what do you call those wives? Obviously, I never was one. Trophy wives, yes. Yes, I never met the criteria for that. So, and then the last one states in here that any owner who rents their property for 30 days or less and receives compensation is required to comply with the City of Surprise ordinances regarding short-term rentals. So that's one of the new laws, so that people are aware of that. The next one goes over community-wide dumpsters. And this residents are required to follow all posted rules. And then the second thing says furniture, other large items, and remodeling debris must be taken off site for disposal and must not be placed in the dumpsters or left in the vicinity of the dumpsters. And that's consistent with what the committee came up with. And towards the end of this, I'll get into the fine policy. There's a few things in there that hopefully will get people to comply.
Look,
yes.
There's a question here. How is the rental verbiage going to be enforced on such sites as Airbnbs and VRBOs?
Well, on Airbnb and VRBOs, the issue regarding the 55 and older is not something that the City of Surprise is going to be looking at. We'll have to be doing those things ourselves. We'll also be looking at the rentals that are being posted on our websites to make sure that it has that verbiage. And if it doesn't have it, they'll be fined. Okay. Thanks for that. The next one has to do with drones. This hasn't been an issue, but it's been brought to our attention that it could potentially be an issue. So the policy is now that personal use of any remote controlled aircraft, i.e. a drone, on common areas is prohibited. Though you could get prior written authorization must be obtained to use a drone for the following limited purposes: evaluating damage by insurers or their agents, aerial photography of a home by a licensed agent or broker in conjunction with the marketing and sale of a home in Happy Trails. Any heartburn about that one? Go ahead, Debbie.
Would an exemption be granted if somebody was going to use it to advertise Happy Trails at behalf, if the board approved it?
Yes, that we would do that. And in fact, we have seen some websites that have that really is quite attractive and enticing, so yes. But there's one of our board members, Marie, really did look into this, and there really are a lot of things that we had never thought about. We really need them to have insurance in case there was some damage as a result of it, and the whole privacy issues too. Okay, the next one is the parking on private property. Again, this is not a new rule, it's just never we had it in writing. So if you're going to store your vehicle on another owner's empty parking area, it's prohibited without written permission from the owner, and they must have completed a homeowner private property parking form, must be completed and submitted to the HTCA office. And that, so that doesn't mean that if your owner is gone and you need to park your car there today because your HVAC people are replacing your HVAC, you can do that. You just can't store it there without that owner's permission, and storing means overnight. And you'll notice that we've had some issues throughout the community where people do take advantage of someone else's lot. On the golf carts, the change to this was some board members felt that in red is nothing really has changed on this other than for the first offense an immediate $100 fine. That's if someone is operating the vehicle without a valid driver's license. That gets to the issue of the number of times we see young'uns driving the cart. So this means that there could be an immediate $100 fine for it. Any heartburn about that?
There could be an issue because some people, when they reach a certain age, have had their driver's license removed from their home state, and they don't have one here.
You got, or their kids took it away too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the issue we were trying to get at with this was the number of youngsters that are out there driving, because that's something that we can immediately see for the most part. You know, they usually don't have gray hair and glasses like the rest of us. Okay. Under pet control, we had this request from a number of people, so this could be something that y'all are going to find questionable. we haven't changed the first part of it, but the last part in red says that no pets are allowed to be within the town center courtyard. Registered service animals are the only exception. We've received lots of patients, lots of residents who are requesting this change. Anyone have any heartburn about this one? Within the town center courtyard itself. Okay. So you can take your dog in the parking lot up to the pet park, all that sort of stuff, and around. You just cannot walk it through here. Yes, apparently some residents allow their pets to relieve themselves and not pick it up. So, yes. Right now, we don't do anything about requiring to see what anybody's insurance is on any of the golf carts, right? I agree with you. The issue is always, how do we monitor that? You know, do you wear a red hat if you're insured or whatever? But it is an excellent point, because we have had accidents with cars and golf carts, and we assume that anyone with a car has insurance. But we only know that the cars that are street legal, who have a license plate on them with the Arizona license plate, we know that they have to have insurance. But those that are not street legal, we wouldn't know that. So it's something we do need to think of, Sue. Thank you. I'll repeat it. So what she's saying is, if you get a Happy Trail sticker on your golf cart, should we check that? That's something I think we should look into, how feasible that is. Do we really even have a way of assuring that all the golf carts have a Happy Trail sticker on them?
Well, there's not. I mean, there's many throughout the resort that don't. You know, it's something that we typically request an installation of the transponder. So a lot of the golf carts that come up to the front gate get a decal as well, but there are some throughout the resort that it's a frequent question at the front desk. Do we need a decal? And where can we get one? So we always try to persuade folks to go to that front area and get that decal.
So the whole issue regarding insurance, I think, is something that we should delve into further. Okay. So I'm assuming that no one has, go ahead.
Back to the pets in the town center. If there is, whom do we go to mention it?
So the question is, if there's a pet within town center, who do you go to talk to them? These folks right here. Yeah. I think it's going to be really reminding, as we get this information out to people and reminding people what they should and shouldn't do. I mean, I just came up to the Chuck Wagon yesterday, and someone had their little dog chained outside the door because they knew that they couldn't take the dog in there, yet they still chained it outside. It still could relieve itself. It still could potentially bite somebody. It was a little dog, so it'd be a little bite. But Debbie.
Don't most dogs have to have their shots and whatnot to be here? If they're special needs, couldn't they have a collar or something on their collar that identifies that they're special needs and they've shown you the paperwork?
The question is whether, if the dog, or really be the resident, had some special needs, whether we could have them have a tag on or something like that. And apparently we are not able to do that, even though we do request that service animals and emotional support animals are registered. We're not allowed to say that it has a tag on it.
But service animals are supposed to wear a vest when they're working.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So speaking of which, the next one is on service animals. So just back up, just a show of hands for people that are in the community. How many are in support of us not allowing dogs within the town center courtyard? Good. Thank you. Service and emotional support dogs. I just called out here that this will be coming under section 10, which is pets. The reality is service and emotional support dogs are not considered pets. So I just want to get clear on that. But this was just where to put it within our rules and regs. And that Happy Trails will grant reasonable accommodations to residents who qualify under the Fair Housing Act to harbor a service emotional support animal. To qualify, residents must have a disability and initiate a request for a reasonable accommodation, and the animal must serve a function directly related to the disability. So that just covers us in that perspective. So it's just an addition to spell out the requirements. You can't just call your dog a service animal. We know that there are service animals that are truly legitimate, and that there are a number of people who just go online and get the vest and the certification. But we do have a right to say, tell us that you have to have a disability, and then tell us the functions that that dog has been trained to do, or show us. Correct. Correct. And that'll be part of the process that they have to do that. Okay. All right. So those just are the changes to the actual rules themselves. The next are regarding the schedule of fines. And in the PowerPoint presentation here, I did not include all of the fines. I just put those that are probably the most significant. Just for your information, Happy Trails board and / budgeting, we do not budget for fines. There's not that our budget is dependent on us getting $50,000 worth of fines out of you. There is no budget for this. There's no quota for them. But what we've addressed here is we've updated the current fine policy. The process hasn't really changed. But what we looked at were what were those items that really could put our community at risk, that we really need to make the fine significant. So if there is an underage violation or an occupancy violation, the immediate fine is $250. That's up from 50? Yeah. Because if we've got a lot of underage people here that are just sneaking in under the gun here, we could lose our 55 and older status. So that's why we tried to make that significant. The next one has to do with the bulk trash. If you put your bulk trash out in the trash area and leave your couch out there, you leave your other stuff around there, it's $500. Will that get people's attention that we're serious about it? What we find is sometimes if it's only $25 or $50, they just pay them, or not. But so that one's going to be $500. Next one has to do with animals. In this, Mike and Darlene added this in that if there's no damage as a result of the animal-related violation, there's no fine. If it happens a second time or that it's a caused injury, then we'll start implementing some fines. That could actually get up to the point there'll be a board policy that we could potentially, if there's a lot of problems with an animal, for them to be removed from the property. But that's another legal issue that we'll have to address. The next one has to do with unauthorized transfer of your permit, your passes, or your transponder. So if you allow someone else to use your transponder or you're violating the rules, we will revoke all your current ones and you'll have to buy a new one. And in addition, you would get a $250 fine. I just want to mention the thing I didn't mention before, I'm sorry. On the underage violation and the trash violation, that's also an immediate suspension of your transponder. Okay. All right. So this is a very serious offense. We've got a lot of people who aren't using their transponders correctly. So there's a $250 fine that would go with that. Okay, on the next slide, I think that's it on that. So those are the major violations. What we'll have is this the document we'll send out to everybody? We'll send out the document with all of them in a blast so that you can see the changes that we'll be voting on next week. So with that, if there's any other questions or pushback on any of these, I'll turn it back.
2 questions here on the chat
Okay.
here, Barb. One of them is just clarification. That means we can't pass through the town center anymore with our pets. I don't allow my dog to relieve themselves there ever, but I do pass through. I think the reiteration would be yes. Unfortunately, wouldn't be through
Go
the
around.
courtyard area. And there was another question in regards to allowing pets inside activities office. And that stands currently with our governing documents, no pets inside of our community buildings in general. And that does include activities office and the mail center.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Next, I want to talk about our age verification survey. Some of you have already turned it in, some of you have not. But it's a requirement that we have to do every 2 years to keep our 55 plus status. So once, if you have not turned it in, I do have some up here at the corner. If you can fill them out today, that would be great. You can also come into the office and fill them out. Now, when you come into the office, or if you want to know if we already have a copy of your ID on file, you can call or come in and we can check and see. Most of them we do have on file. We have found a few that we do not. And in that case, we would have to have a copy of your license or some type of ID, excuse me, showing your age. But again, you can pick up a copy here, or you can come to the office and see Stephanie and she can look it up to see if we have ID on file and then fill out the form. It's very simple. Okay. Next, I want to talk about, the car wash. Everyone's favorite subject. I'll give Mike a break this time and I'll talk about it. So we have not been able to get the vendor to come out and install the car wash. It's an ongoing battle with this particular vendor. So we have finally asked our maintenance crew if they can look at the car wash, the new car wash, and see if they can install it for us. So this week they've already started that process. We are hoping that they don't run into any problems and we'll be able to get the car wash up and running by the end of next week. Fingers crossed. If not, talk to Mike. Next, we're going to talk, I'm going to turn it over to Mike so he can talk a little bit about gate etiquette. We're having some serious issues with our Roy Rogers gate. For example, 3 people hit it yesterday.
2 this morning.
2 this morning. It's an going out. It's an ongoing issue, so I'm going to let Mike talk about gate etiquette and we'll go from there. Okay?
So as most of you folks know, we've had some issues with the Roy Rogers gate, and I want to tell you the entirety of that issue. We have to be able to work together in this direction. I think that we have to either jump on the boat or jump off the boat, and that's really where we're at. We installed a new barrier arm on the exit portion of the Roy Rogers gate to allow, or to restrict, I should say, vehicles entering the exit. That was our primary goal here, was to prohibit the vehicles entering the exit. It has been 100% successful on stopping vehicles from entering the exit. However, we've inadvertently caused some significant dilemmas with the exit gate, being our residents and non-residents trying to exit that gate. The problem that we found, it's twofold. We have residents with transponders that are making contact with the gate because of how the vehicles are exiting that gate. If you come up to TransCore, the dish reader, and your transponder functions the barrier arm, the car behind you, 9 times out of 10, zooms right on behind you, regardless if they have a transponder or not. That barrier arm is scheduled to come down after every single car until it reads your transponder. We just had the TransCore dish relocated closer to the barrier arm for this particular reason, because it was allowing for cars to get trapped in between each other. So it was always coming down on that second barrier arm because the TransCore reader was too far back. So we moved the TransCore reader up. But I've stood at that gate before, and cars come flying up there, 30, 35 miles an hour, ready to shoot through that gate, regardless if they have a transponder or not. And in order for us to be able to secure that location, we need the residents' assistance in making sure we're exiting that gate properly. We're never going to get to a point. Within Friday of last week, it's been hit 13 times. 13 times, and it was sitting down. The vendor, it was hit, it was down for like 2 weeks. The vendor came out and repaired it. Not only a minute and 87 seconds later, It was hit again. So we're having an issue regardless of what kind of signage we put in that area. Now we are addressing the vendor issue. The vendors are trying to exit that gate, which has been, it appears to be habitual. They were doing this for some time. Now the vendors exiting that gate is one thing because we're sending them invoices and they don't love the invoices. And I think that that helps eradicate some of that issue. But the issue that we have with homeowners is that you're not particularly doing anything intentionally wrong when you're trying to exit that gate. You may have a transponder and it's been functioning like this for many, many, many years where you could just exit after each individual car without a barrier arm there. If you recall, we had some spikes that were in that location before. They were removed years ago. It did rectify the issue of vehicles coming inwards, but that's history at this point. We can't put those back in. We know that we can't put the spikes back in. The fire department does not want that in case they have to enter the resort through the exit. The barrier arm, they could drive through, worst case scenario. It's a great functioning piece and it works perfectly if it's used perfectly. So we're at a crossroads here.
It just got hit again as we're speaking.
It just got hit again. So we have this never-ending issue, and we're spending a lot of time with our patrol staff. We're spending a lot of time with our maintenance staff. Our staff's coming in over the weekends to try to repair the gates. I mean, it's been a frequent, ongoing problem, and we're trying to determine how we can help rectify this. Please come up with some suggestions, yes, questions.
Debbie Cheek, Lot 219. Have you thought about having an education session with the people with transponders going up to the gate and you instructing them what works and what doesn't work? They may not know.
Right. Yes, I think that's a wonderful idea. Sue? Yeah. We can do the
So I was lucky enough the first time we went through after the transponder receiver was moved, that someone was there kind of helping, because it turned out, first of all, the transponder in my car has always been very low. And so I've had to pull right up to things. So I'm just going to get a new transponder and put it higher up. But there were two things I noticed. One, the gentleman said to me, okay, you're going to have to get closer to the curb. Okay, so now I know that. But yesterday, someone in front of me went out and their transponder was more responsive. So it went up quickly. I knew to wait for the arm to come down. That's the thing. Tell people what is the right way. You must wait for that arm to come down no matter how fast your transponder is.
Right. Correct. And I think that we've talked about the proper signage. At first we talked, okay, we put a stop sign there. I don't think the stop sign will be a resolution because we won't understand exactly what to do with the stop sign there, knowing that we're not stopping, we're going through the gate. So I don't know that that's the answer, but maybe a sign that says something along those, please wait for barrier arm to come down before exiting, or something along those lines, because we have to be able to rectify this with the folks that are exiting the gate.
Hi, Trudy Skelton, lot 1413. I was going out the gate the other day. I almost had to be on the curb before my transponder would read it. Can it be adjusted a little bit to, I don't know, my transponder is on the upper part of my windshield. I don't know if I need to move it or.
We're playing with some adjustments on what
Okay.
exactly was done. It was moved back,
Yeah.
meaning so it's more so what I found in this scenario. Where they moved it to. You really have to be right up on that barrier arm. And the intent of what that was that you would be coming up to the barrier arm nice and slow, so that when you got to the barrier arm, you're almost at a complete stop. I mean, when I was out, yesterday, I came up to the barrier arm and I had to almost inch all the way up before it read my transponder and opened that gate. The intent of that was completely intentional, trying to get folks to come up to that barrier arm. But we are playing with some adjustments because every vehicle
Maybe we
likes to.
just need a slow sign on the pavement.
Sure.
Slow.
Yeah, and that
Hello?
may help as well. Yeah, we tried to do some A-frame boards, and that was directed more so to the non-residents that are exiting that gate. But I will add another issue that we do have, and it happened as of last night, and this is very, very frequent. We have residents that are allowing non-residents to exit that gate. I have folks that are sitting there waiting for a vehicle to come that are non-residents, and our residents are allowing them to exit the resort. When our residents allow them to exit the resort, they hit the barrier arm. And 9 times out of 10, it's a golf cart, and it's heading over towards Grand, and we have no license plate, no indication of how I can find this golf cart. Right now, I'm looking for a gold golf cart that's been running around. And I'll tell you, we're keeping an eye open for it, because the reality is I have no indication of how to search for this person. If I don't have a plate number, or if you're a non-resident using that gate, our system doesn't have any information for you. So we have that issue as well, as our residents are allowing non-residents to exit that gate, enter and exit that gate. And we have caught some folks. We've had conversations. We have set enforcement policy. We've fined. We've done those in conjunction with this, but I think that it's been a long-term practice that has been going on, and we're trying to rectify that. And I think it's going to take the entire community to get this word out and communicate, and in conjunction with us communicating. I think we hold some special meetings and we get some improved signage, but it's going to take a lot of the community going out there and saying, hey, we're going to have to try to secure this area if we really want it secure, because right now it appears that anyone can wait at that gate and someone's going to let them in or out, either way. Yes, sir.
Brian Souders, Lot 38. Could you put together a video how to go out that gate correctly and incorrectly, posted on Neighbor Network, the website, and Facebook? And you might get more people viewing that than you will, with your signage.
I think that's a wonderful idea. Thank you. Perfect.
Debbie Cheek, Block 219. At the beginning of the video, put in big letters, how to avoid damage to your vehicle.
Bob Fall, Lot 496. I went out this morning, and the confusion to me is that you come up, there was a car already there. It's just pulling up to trip the gate. And so I'm coming up behind it. The gate opens, he goes out. I'm sitting there, the gate's still open. I don't have any indication that says whether my signal has been read or not, okay?
Correct.
One of the things that was, and I went ahead and it worked. It didn't come down on me anyway. And
Right.
It came down what looked normal behind me. Coming in on the gate, coming in on Roy Rogers, I always, when I come up to the gate, I've seen people just sit there until the entire gate's open. But most cars, I don't know that any are longer than that is, I always pull up to the gate, let it open, and I can see the arm come down behind me.
Right.
Right. And which I think is a good idea also.
It is.
And I've got a Lincoln Mercury or Mercury Grand Marquis, and it's a long car, so I don't think anybody'd have trouble. My other suggestion is for that, knowing whether your signal has been read or not. I was thinking about the entry that they do on the interstate when they have a heavy traffic flow and they do green light, red light, on the lanes and so forth. Is there any way that maybe that would work to say, okay, I see this guy in front of me and he goes up and he gets a green light and he pops through and immediately turns red. And then I know to wait until if I'm not red yet. But immediately when I see a green light, then boom, I can go on through, right?
That's also
Whether the
a great
light
idea.
is down or up or whatever you have to coordinate that with the arm. But anyway, I think the green light, red light might help.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I agree with the entrance area. The entrance works really well for that particular reason. It allows for a car to go through that location. And when we installed the barrier arm on the exit, we did look at this. And our concern and the primary reason we didn't proceed with the exact same setup would be that if someone were entering the exit, then they're trapped between the gate and the barrier arm. And that's why we didn't allow for that space in between, because it would still allow for people to enter that exit side and even squeeze through with a golf cart if they needed to, because the barrier arm would have space in between it. So that's why the barrier arm was placed so close to the gate. It's kind of a conundrum, but I like all the ideas. I think that in conjunction with that, we can put together some sort of a, better signage, better indication at that area, and maybe even a video. I think I really appreciate the feedback. We have a couple questions here on the chat. I want to make sure that we're not missing any of these here. Find those who hit it. We are taking enforcement action as best as our ability. I mean, if we can catch the folks that are involved in this matter, we are taking enforcement action. If you have a rental property, can you give, oh, this was back to the transponder. I missed this chat here. Let me skip that for the time being. I sat, if the runner is a contractor or employee, they should not be allowed to do business on site anymore with the guilty employee. Yelled at a contractor to slow down. He was going 30 miles an hour down Pat Brady. Okay, so there's some issues with the contractors. Agreed. Why worry about exiting? No one worries going out the front gate. And then maybe a red and green light that is set in conjunction with the gate arm. Okay, so we do have some feedback. I really appreciate your guys' input on this matter, and more information to come from us. It's not getting better. As we are hoping that some time would pass and we get used to the indicator in that location and how it functions. And unfortunately, it's just proceeding every day. So thank you again.
Carlene Smith, 767. Recently with the new installation, I have gone to the exit gate, and the person in front of me has the right of way, goes through, and then I come up and the arm stays up. So I never know whether to go through or sit and wait till it comes down, goes back up. Because if I go through after that vehicle has, I'm afraid it's going to come down.
And that's been the challenge because, you know, for example, it read your transponder. When you came through, you were running slow enough that when that car went through the barrier arm, it read your transponder and the barrier arm stayed up. But if there's any space in between those vehicles and that barrier arm goes up, and then there's say 3 or 4 car lengths in between those two cars that are exiting the gate, and that one sees the barrier arm up and they have a transponder, the assumption automatically in our brain is that it's green. We can go through there. It's up and ready to rock and roll. And normally by the time they actually get to the barrier arm, it's right about in their windshield area. So that's the challenge. But you're right. You're practicing the proper way to exit that gate. And enter or exit that gate. Yeah, either or, you know, it's slow, cautious, so that when you're coming up to it, it's actually reading your transponder. But sometimes, you know, depending on the height of the vehicle and the location of the transponder, it may not read like a lot of you folks are saying until you get right up to it, including my vehicle. So, you know, it's a challenge, and I think that we have to try to be able to give some clear indication of what to do in that location so we can proceed with security at that gate.
It's not like it's a game, but it's like, shall I go? Shall I not?
Right.
Shall I go?
Right. It can be a little confusing. I don't have anything else in regards to the gate arms. I had 2 things to jump back to really quick. If you have a rental property, can you give a renter a transponder even for a night or 2? Are they installed on your vehicle? So all the transponders are installed on vehicles. Renters have to be here for a total of 3 months to get a transponder, and it has to be authorized by the property owner on the notice of occupancy. So any kind of, you know, giving of your transponder to a renter for the time being because they're not authorized to get one would be a violation.
Okay, so let's talk trash. So Michael and I have been working diligently to get this trash process started. We've met with Parks and Sons. They will be coming out here next Wednesday to do some relocation of some dumpsters and try and get our back area where the dumpsters are currently located ready to go. We have hired a part-time person to come in, and that will be their primary job, is to work that area. They will be working Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That's when it will be open from 10 to 2. Along with the hired staff, we will be having volunteers. The volunteers will be, as far as I know, it's being worked out, but as far as I know, they'll be working 2-hour shifts and usually 2 volunteers per shift. So there should always be a total of 3 people back there. We are scheduled to start our trash process on December 19th. We had said 15th, but that's at the end of the week, so we're going to start on December 19th, which is a Tuesday. Our new employee will come in next week, and we will get him just up to speed on everything that he needs before he starts, and we throw him out to the wolves. So any questions at all about the trash situation?
No questions. Yeah. So we did get some signage out at NC1, NC2, and the trash container over on Ghost Rider. And I do have a chat here that was private to me that talks about, you know, getting some other trash containers in those locations. So there will be trash containers at NC1, NC2 that are going to be located up by the building. And those needs are going to be primarily for any kind of events that are happening in those locations. So that if you have a birthday party or something along those lines, then you can end up utilizing those services. Our on-site staff will be servicing those trash cans regularly, so there won't be any overflow, but we will be eliminating the dumpster location there. Now, we will have that wall location around there for the time being. There's some ideas of what we could potentially do with that down the road, but we want to get this rolling and see how this is going to function. We did work with Parks and Sons of some relocation of some dumpsters, so we want to make sure that they're all in a reasonable location down there for you folks. Our maintenance staff have just finished doing some modifications to a new ramp and a landing that is going to be accessible for a lot of our residents that need to throw away into the larger 30-yard dumpsters. So those will be placed close to it. You'll see that ramp is already down in that location, but it's not accessible right at the moment. The dumpsters haven't been relocated closer to the ramp yet. So you will see that coming as well next Wednesday. We also will be bringing our recycling services into that facility. So the plastic and glass and our metal recycling will all go in that area and be secured. The good news is that Parks and Sons is working with us on recycling services. They have opted if we can be sure to if we can ensure that our recyclables are clean, then we can utilize that recycling container for not only plastic and glass, but for cardboard as well. And I think that that's going to be huge for us. I know we have a lot of needs for cardboard as long as it's broken down properly. And I think that once we secure that location, we can ensure that it is broken down, it is clean, and it is disposed of properly. So I think that it will be really great for the community to have all of those areas secure so that folks can utilize them properly.
You know what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
indeed.
Linda Johnson, 2161. When it,
Villa's locked. So right now what we're working on, Linda, is maintenance is trying to determine exactly how we're going to cover those locations. We looked at two separate things. They make a lock system on the dumpster, and we botched that already because the fear is that in order for someone to get into the dumpster, they would have to unlock the mechanism and get into it was too much. And I don't think that was going to be plausible. So the guys are working on right now getting welding an actual more chain link cover, similar to what we have at the end of the boulevard that we're using as a temporary fence right now, where it has a frame mesh in between. It's going to be secured and bolted to the top of that existing structure. The concern in the discussion right now is not so much getting the keypad or locking it. We can provide that information to the villa owners pretty easily. The concern right now is making sure that we have enough space between the dumpster itself and the top. Our fear is, do we need to bump that up higher in order for folks to get all their stuff in there? You know, we got about, I want to say we have almost 20 inches in between the top of the cover and the dumpster. Almost 2 feet. It should be pretty good for any kind of access, household debris, trash bags, things along those lines, but we're trying to determine exactly which direction to go here. So our plan is to have those completely secured by the 19th and have that good to go. If not the 19th, very shortly thereafter.
okay, because one of the things that some of the people in the villas are concerned about, and we're seeing it now, is people coming along and they're talking. It doesn't hit the dumpster, it goes on the floor.
Right.
So,
And we may still get some, unfortunately, we may still get some folks that are going to end up, throwing their trash on top of it. And we may have to service that area, and we may have to eventually get a camera in that area. And, there's going to have to be some, trial and error with this, of course. It's going to be something that we learn from every day. And hopefully with our communications and our efforts to try to control this, we'll get some resolution. And I think that
okay, so you are going to put a roof on it?
it has to have a roof on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good news. Thank you.
Trudy Skelton, Lot 1413. How many cardboard containers were removed?
13.
And you didn't think that that would cause a problem?
We knew it would cause a problem.
Yeah.
Most definitely. The biggest problem was those 13 containers were free. We weren't paying anything for the recycling service.
Okay. I'll bet you if you checked with neighbor, Glendale, or whoever, I bet you their trash pickup has gone up
Sure.
in the last 3 years. We can do that too. I mean, I know everybody was like, oh no, it's like, come on world. If we need them, we need them.
Sure.
Anyway, I'm glad that you're working on getting something for the cardboard. Why are you putting it? Why can't they put another container for, oh well. We'll figure it
They
out.
most definitely can put as many containers as we want with extra dollars.
Yeah.
So we're going to start and see how this direction goes. And we're trying to neutrally, we're trying to keep this as much financial neutral as we can, not spend any extra dollars than what's being spent right this moment, other than just having an employee there and securing that area. So that's what we're trying to do. I think that we're going to have to consolidate and figure out exactly how many containers we have and if it's manageable, and if we need a bigger dumpster. There's going to be some trial and error, and we're going to record that area and see what works and what doesn't work. But we also have some indication from our communications committee and some of our ad hoc committee that worked on this sanitation proposal. There are local facilities that are taking the cardboard that are open 3 days a week in Surprise, and there's no fees for that. You can take as much cardboard as you'd like to that facility. So there's some other means of disposal throughout the Surprise here that we're going to be indicating on a brochure and posting out and providing to a lot of folks at that sanitation location at the end of Happy Trails Boulevard as well.
Art Lohndorf, Lot 336. The aluminum collection cans, are they going to stay there, or are they going up with X?
The aluminum with fun and games are intended to stay in the same location that they are by the car wash. At this time, we haven't had any issues, and I hope that we continue to not have any issues.
I forgot this last time. Sue Deal, Lot 1578. I was just going to confirm to you that Cheryl Brown and one of the people on the communications committee will be working on putting the half-page recycle brochure together. So there's something to hand people. And I have found myself that if they all of a sudden ads pop up on Facebook or Nextdoor or whatever saying, we'll take your stuff. There's 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So we'll put as much on there as we can. And anybody who thinks of or finds a new one should let us know, and we'll add that too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Carlene Smith, 767. It's very unfortunate that I can foresee if the gates are locked, nobody's there, people are going to leave their trash right outside the fence.
And there's that rule and regulation with that $500 fine. One thing is we had a little bit of a camera issue, and we believe we rectified the camera issue. They're functioning, and they have been functioning in that area. The challenge was the distance that we had. The good news is that with that being secured, we're actually going to end up moving that gate back, I would say 12 feet. And the reason being, it's going to not only bring it closer to that camera, so that gate, the entrance is right at the camera. So if you're there dumping your stuff at the gate, we're going to see you. We're going to know exactly who you are. But it's also going to secure that area a little bit more, allow for North Storage to exit a little bit easier so we don't have any traffic jams in that location. And we want to make sure that all the dumpsters are in the clear area and we have a good flow of traffic through that area. So We looked at how we wanted it to lay out, and I think it's going to work really well. We're also going to be securing the temporary fence to the block wall, because right now it's not completely secure. It's just freestanding. So we'll have to make sure that that's secure as well. But
Well, who might be responsible for picking up all that trash? That'll be left outside the gate.
so Happy Trails staff will be responsible for something that's left outside. But with the board's permission, I'm sure if we determine exactly where it belongs, we will deliver it right back to where it belongs.
Marilyn Klein, 392. That was one of my peeves with they're not gonna, they're just gonna even toss it over the gate. Trying to change the subject a little bit. I have a problem with the instructions that you have for our statements. I have had direct deposit ever since I've lived here. I've never got a statement. I don't care if I get a statement, but is it I automatically already, or do I still have to get my computer? I don't do computers, and I get a notice every time that my page is updated on the email. I think that's enough for me.
So Marilyn, if you come into the office and ask for Dawn, and she'll actually do it for you. So
I still have to do it.
We need to make sure that you opt out of paper statements. So she can do it for you, but we need to get your information. So come into the office and see Dawn.
So if I don't do it, I'm gonna get a paper statement and have to pay the $35?
Correct.
The state requires us to send you the statement. That's the problem. Because if you didn't want the statement and we could opt out of it real easily and say you never want your statement again, great. But the state says we're required to.
I already get the email that my statement has been done. And
so you may already be set up for e-statements. It sounds like
I
you
just don't go in and get it.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're already set up for it. But again, if you want to just confirm that, come in and Dawn can check for you.
Okay. And then I've never actually had to verify my age. I wasn't going to do that. The third one is on the trash. Are they going to require the person that's dumping it to wear their Happy Trails name tag, so you know they're from Happy Trails?
Yes, so they will
with their picture.
Correct. They will have to either have their Happy Trails name tag on, or they will have to show proof of ID. And the gentleman back there, the staff employee, will have a computer and he can look up to see if they're actual residents here.
How do they affect the renters? They have to have the ID?
Yes, the renters would have to have an ID.
Good.
And the renters are also involved in the computer system that we use. So we'll be able to see anyone that is a resident of this resort within the computer system that we're using.
Linda Duffy, lot 344. I have a question about hold it. There. Okay. Now we can hear me. Oh, I hear the echo. Linda Duffy, lot 344. I was hoping there's going to be maybe some signage at Town Center so the dogs know they're not supposed to go in there. Oh, I was hoping there'd be signage at Town Center so the dogs know not to go in there. Okay. And also, speaking of dogs and trash, for the people that do pick up, now they can't use anything at NC1 or other places. Are there going to be extra doggy things?
Yeah, one of the chats was also for those locations and the Ghost Rider, because the Ghost Rider location where that dumpster is now, there's a dog that a lot of folks walk their dog in that canal back in that area. And I appreciate you bringing it up, because we do need to evaluate those doggy bags and trash cans in those 3 areas, as well as I want to bring attention that this would ultimately eliminate access to the north gate, that canal gate, by the dumpster. So that'll be secured. So all of our residents that do utilize that canal will have to utilize it through Ghost Rider area on that backside. So I just want to give a quick walkthrough process of exactly how it's going to function. At the collection facility, when we have it open, we anticipate a potential line of residents coming through this area. So we've brainstormed a couple ideas of what might assist our residents in coming through this facility. Well, we'll have signage that specifically says what is prohibited, what cannot go in any of these dumpsters. So be prepared for that when you come up to the gate. There's going to be items that cannot be disposed of. We will also have volunteers that will be assisting as they're coming through the vehicles, walking, past the vehicles, trying to assist some of our residents in where to dispose of these items. When you do get to the gate, we will give you an indication of where to take each individual item you have. We'll have either the metal recycling, the tree debris for the large roll-off dumpsters, some general, household debris that is generated for the white dumpsters, and then we'll have a recycling dumpster before you loop out and exit the collection facility. We'll also have signage that was made to install on the gate when one of the facilities is full. So if say we're full on cardboard, we're going to have a sign that's posted on the gate so you don't sit there in line waiting to get to the collection facility for cardboard if it is full. So we're trying to indicate that, like Darlene had said, is a driver's license or a name badge will be able to identify who you are via our system. And it should be a pretty seamless process. I think it should work really well, and hopefully that we can maintain respect in that area. That's going to be large, big objective is maintaining the respect in that area with our residents and our employees and volunteers. And we'll do evaluations of it on a weekly and even a daily basis. We need to make sure that if changes are needed, we're going to have to make changes on the run. We know that we might have to make some minimal adjustments. Please don't hesitate to give us your feedback on how it works, how it doesn't work, and if you like it. We will have some cones in that area that are going to be kind of directing traffic for the time being. Once we establish the flow of traffic and it works, we might use some permanent paintings, striping in that area so that we get a good flow of traffic in that area. We want to make sure that we're not congested down there. I'm anticipating, 3 or 4 cars at a time to be able to enter that location, loop around, do their disposal, and exit. 4 more cars enter that location, and we can proceed so that we don't have any kind of crisscross and any kind of incidents or traffic control issues in that location.
One I forgot. If a resident at Happy Trails, and I mean resident, not owner, if the owner lives in Traditions, what's going to stop them from dumping their trash here with an ID?
So within the rules and regulations, it would state that if you are an owner of a property, but you're leasing out the property, say to a renter on your property, but you're residing in Arizona Traditions, hypothetically speaking, you would not be permitted to use the location. The facility would be used for your tenant. The rights are being, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah,
well, that's been a rule for years and years and years, but some of them are still renting their lot and coming over and using our facilities.
Correct. And in this facility, we will be able to control it. For the pools right at this moment, I mean, it still could be an issue in some of our other amenities throughout the resort. But this location, we will be able to ensure that you're residing on that property. Because if you, for example, came to the gate and I was there and you tell me your lot number in Happy Trails and I pull it up and it shows your renter on that property, I'm going to ask you, do you have renters on your property? Or there's folks residing on your property right now? Yes. Unfortunately, you're not permitted to use this location.
Well, that was the purpose of eliminating the clubs for being overrun with outsiders. It hasn't been enforced there at any time.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, that will bring an end to our town hall meeting. I just want to say, Vicki, I'm sorry, come on up, Vicki. I completely forgot that you wanted to speak.
I just wanted to remind everybody, it's that time of the year again, always that time every year. We do have 2 spots that will be coming available on the board of directors. And so I want you to be kind of thinking about, who do you know, or even yourself, that would be good on the board. What we're looking for is somebody that is honest, reliable, really has their best interest in this resort. And even if it's not you, maybe you know somebody else. I know everybody that I've been talking to in the last 2 weeks, they have been giving me a lot of good names. And so I have spoke to a lot of people, and we do have some that are coming in to fill out their paperwork, but we want more, okay? So think about it, and let's move forward for the best interest of this resort. And I want to thank everybody that's on the board that's serving this year and that has ever served, because it is a thankless job. Although they have enough love for this community that they really stick to it. So I want to thank you guys. Let's give them applause.
Thank you, Vicki. She's been counting.
Hi, I'm Karen Stewart, and I'm also on the Elections Committee, so I'm available if you see me out and about to answer any questions. One of the things that seemed to be a little bit of a misunderstanding last year, so I want to clear it up, that when I had talked to people about being on the board, they said, well, I'm not a full-time resident. You do not need to be a full-time resident. And in fact, I am a part-time resident, and I personally like that I have that type of representation on, so that part-time people are also, it sounds weird, but equally represented on the board. So in fact, just because you're part-time, don't worry about it. You still have to make the commitments to the meetings, but with the Zoom and email and all the other ways in which we communicate today, you can be effective, stay in communications, and do your part. So please, as you're looking at the candidates, just because someone's not here full time, that is not, should not be a concern if they're otherwise a qualified candidate.
And we've actually taken that question off the application. Okay, with that being said, I just want, on behalf of myself and all of our employees at Happy Charles, we want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate at this time of year, and a Happy New Year. Thank you.